Recorded Books and One Click Digital present Tales from the Arabian Nights by Donna Jo Napoli. Narrated by Christina Moore. Introduction. Some of the stories presented in this book go back to ancient times. Others may have arisen in medieval times. Most appeared in collections during the Middle Ages. Others were first written down only at the beginning of the 18th century by a European translator of the earlier collections. Probably all, however, were part of folklore of the area extending from North Africa to South Asia, including Mesopotamian, Persian, and Indian cultures, as well as later medieval Muslim cultures of Egypt and Syria. As such, these stories offer an entrance to the sensibilities of that wide area in those varying times. The society we find in these stories consists of many poor, undereducated people scrambling to stay within the good graces of a wealthy upper class that holds the power. Wealth, however, does not seem to be strictly random. Instead, those who work hard and are clever enough to seize opportunities can rise from poverty to luxury as merchants, or even become viziers, princes, and kings. Self-reliance and resourcefulness are prized qualities. The supernatural beings that inhabit these stories are also a mixed bag of beneficent and maleficent. Woe to the human who just happens to offend a genie by accident. Mercy is a rare find. Please note that the Arabic word genie is used in this book, with the plural form jinn and the feminine form jinniya. Often in English it is spelled G-E-N-I-E, which is the more common transliteration of the Arabic spelling, and pronounced genie. But a rapid assessment of a situation, particularly of the psychological needs of the one in power, and careful, appropriate action can lead to the mere human prevailing over the magical creature so that disaster is avoided. And generally, those who are loyal and faithful fare better than those who are not. Finally, there is an abiding interest in exploration and invention. Adventurers go from country to country, risking their lives in order to see the world. New machines are treasured. There is nothing complacent or provincial in these stories. Rather, there is a hunger for the unknown and a desire to be part of something larger. In these ways, the values and beliefs reflected in the stories feel optimistic, to my way of thinking, more so than those found in ancient or medieval Greek, Norse, Celtic, or ancient Egyptian mythology. There is a strong sense that good behavior will lead to good results, and that the world is basically a lot more delightful than it is frightful. A remarkable aspect of these particular tales is the structure of how they are told. There is an overall framework in which a wife, Scheherazade, is telling stories to her husband each night. But in the stories she tells, there is often a character who tells a story. And sometimes we find another story within that embedded story, stories within stories within stories within the overarching story. Now, certainly the current form of the framework of Scheherazade was not there in the original oral folktales. But even having 3 layers of storytelling within the individual oral tales is a lot to keep track of. It is as complex to the ear as Persian miniature paintings, for example, are to the eye. This storytelling tradition puts an emphasis on careful listening and mental jockeying. The listener is rewarded frequently by gifts to the ear, songs and poems, as well as gifts to the spirit, characters who make us laugh, love stories that hold us entranced, fantastical creatures and devices that amaze us. For the people of the times when the stories were first told, historical details shed light on events they might have heard about. Each night's tale stands on its own merit, but I have worked to present them within the framework of a growing relationship between wife and husband. The tales themselves are often cliffhangers that leave us wondering what will happen next, but the most important cliffhanger is whether or not Scheherazade succeeds in getting her husband to grant her another day of life. For in the beginning, he has vowed to have her put to death after their first night together.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?